Afternoon, everybody. Okay, so I'm going to find the slide mover. Is that over here? Sorry. Schoolboy error on my part. So spend a little while, and I'm conscious of time. I've only got about 20 minutes here to sort of whiz through what is a huge topic. I did speak at the Market Force event purely on social media and financial services back in March, I believe it was, and that was the whole day, just focused purely on the world of social and FS. So we're going to hit some points, talk a little bit about what could serious social media look like, take a little look at acquisition, what's really potential within there, and then what, for me, I think is the biggest part of this is about building and strengthening customer engagement. So we'll whistle through those activities. So just a very brief piece about me for a little bit of context. Really been at Barclays now for a couple of years, and we've gone through quite a big social media journey, I think it's safe to say. Really, bar about, I think a year and 2 weeks is when we first launched our first foray into having Twitter as a servicing channel, where we now have in the region of 7,000 followers. Working that through, and we have a team working and engaging with customers through that social space. Same time we launched the Facebook page for our consumer world, and more recently for our business activity, and having the region, I think if I check today, it's about a couple of hundred short of 30,000 likes. And clearly done some major activity around the launch of Ping It through the Facebook world, and also with recent activity around debit card activity, putting pictures on debit cards in the Facebook world. So we've sort of gone through a journey, and we are probably only baby steps into where that journey really needs to go and get to. So just a little bit of context of some of the work that we've done. I'll probably go through a little bit more about my thinking about where organisations need to get to. So I think this whole premise of serious social media, what is it? What does it mean? I think the key focus for me is, well, what are the goals of you as an organisation in dealing with your customers? And I think the big word that I always come back to in people wanting to look at social media is, what purpose do you have for it? And purpose is, I think, that really key word, quite emotive word. What are you trying to achieve by launching yourself as a Facebook page? And it could be many, many different reasons. So first question to really ask, is this about servicing your customers, or is this about potentially building your brand? Could be a little bit mixture of the two, but those two key angles there to think through. It could also be about how do we acquire customers. As I said, maybe it's a mixture of all of that, and I think it could be a little bit schizophrenic if you try and make it a total mixture. Another key criteria and touch point for me is the channel choice. Each channel has its own little different idiosyncrasies of what works well, what doesn't work so well for them. And you can see some of the numbers, well, you might be able to see some of the numbers up there, I don't know how good your eyes are, but the scalability, so currently Facebook sitting there with 1 billion people globally, and their numbers quote about 33 million of those in the UK as registered users, and about 22 million of those, so 2/3 of all those in the UK are mobile-based as well. You've got LinkedIn, about 10 million in the UK as registered members, and about 187 million of those worldwide. Twitter, about 400 million globally, and about 10 million UK. So you can see still a small portion of people in the UK using that. Before I go on to the next two, is there anyone from Google in the room? Perfect, good. So Google quote, 400 million people using Google Plus globally. Quick poll for me, how many people actually have a Google Plus account? Ooh, okay, more than I thought. How many actually use it? A very small minority. Okay, that sort of sums up my thoughts around that. So I think it's certainly an emerging channel for us to think about what does that mean. Some brands I know are using it very innovatively, and I think some of the Google Hangouts are quite an interesting way for a brand to go and look at within there. YouTube, I think most people are aware of the sheer size and scale of that. It is just absolutely enormous in the reach of the video world within there. But I think it's really key for a brand to think through what are they trying to do within the social space across a servicing angle. What's the best way to service our customers? And I guess that starts to help define which channel do you really want to go utilise and work through. So you need to think through How are your customers utilising each different part of those channels that they might well be in? Because there's a good portion of people will be using those channels. So thinking about what's the nuance of Facebook, and how do your customers, your target segment you're trying to address, really utilising that as a channel in their own right. If you're trying to do something totally different to that, kind of assume it's going to be blooming hard for you to try and really make that work for you. So think about the segmentation strategy that you've got and how each channel is potentially being used. And I think the additional point to that is thinking through the device that you also think that segment is potentially using at different times of the day. We heard there about the premise of the iPad, much more sit back, couch usage, whereas your mobile phones, we all probably do it, sitting there on the train doing certain different bits of activity. So thinking through what journey and strategy you're trying to do for that particular device, for that particular channel, will start to drive and help shape your strategies. Certainly take it from me from a hard school of learning. Trying to do a single approach to how you might want to use Facebook doesn't work. And the different devices use Facebook in totally different ways if you're in an Android as you are in an iPhone activity. So be prepared for a shock if you're not thinking through that strategy in the right kind of way. I learned the hard way, unfortunately. And then I think the other way to look at this, how do you want to try and achieve your social media? Are you really looking at this from a big strategic activity for you? Therefore, that might define you want to do things more in-house. Are you thinking this much more as a test, a little bit of immerse yourselves into it, and that might take you down utilising agency resource in the same way? Clearly, agencies can be used to really drive some scale for you very quickly. But it's just some key points to kind of think through about how you might want the strategy to shape what's the purpose that you're trying to do within the social media world. And I think for me, it's something that I utilised with the board at Barclays around looking at, it's more, so serious social media is more than just that top number. Everyone sits in the boardroom there, well, so-and-so's got 1 million likes. Why haven't we got 1 million likes? For me, it's a totally irrelevant number, but it's something that everybody hangs their hat on, unfortunately, as being that total scale. For me, having a really good, successful social media strategy starts to address all different 7 layers of this metrics effectively. Yes, easy to focus on the likes, and I did that earlier, so I fell into that trap, talking about what we've got within there. But it's about thinking about your customer base and thinking about the reach you can potentially get of that customer base within the channel. So wouldn't it be good to think we could potentially address 10% of our customer base through Facebook? That works out to be something in the region of about 900,000 customers with 15 million that we've got. So you start to think that way, that the percentage of people who use Facebook and potentially your customers starts to address where you want to get towards. So reach, I think, of your customer base is a really important one. And I think the next focus that we're really driving forward on is the engagement of that. It's not just about that magic number of a total number of likes, it's how engaged are they. The more likes you have, the less engaged they typically are. So driving through an engagement score where you can plot yourself on there is really, really important. And that can go through, how do you service your customers? Is it really proactive? Do you reach in for every way that Barclays is mentioned in our case? Do you have that conversation with customers in that world, or do you just wait for someone to address you with the @ symbol? So different ways you can start to look about how social is used and your theory behind what social is trying to drive you to get to a strategic focus where potentially it's just sort of a little bit of a skunk work development. Someone in marketing does a little bit of a Facebook work, or are you all the way in the whole scale where actually you are social at the heart of what your organisation's about, and it's about plotting yourself, I think, on multiple different facets within that scale. And I say, a little bit of a pun really on the likes of Burberry, which clearly have some massive reach, massive engagement. Kind of people look around that in the financial services world and think, how can we achieve that? My reality is we're not. Retail banking is not about retail therapy or retail shopping. It's totally different, and we can't really be judged in that world. But we certainly need to aspire to how, as a group of people, can we start to drive down that world. So that's just, I think, my view is just some of the how you can start to think about a real focused social media activity. If you then take it to the next stage, simple answer for me about acquisition: of course you can use the social channels for acquisition. I kind of would just say, not right now, but certainly as a vehicle for you, is a key goal and a key driver for what you can achieve out of that. I think the best thing for me is certainly acquiring friends, followers, fans, etc. is a key goal that you can obviously do through that. I think looking at the media opportunities, and we talked about some of the digital retargeting earlier, the world of Facebook and LinkedIn can be very powerful to take people from those sites into your own site activity. So just treating it as just another platform to advertise on can be very powerful. And we certainly did some work with LinkedIn, where you've got very targeted individuals, very high-profile people. It was our best click-through rate and our best application opening process of people that came from that site, from any other site that we worked on. And that's down to the data that those guys have typically got to allow us to really target people really accurately. So from my point, taking people from those sites and across and in to your site certainly can be workable. I think the challenge for me is how do you acquire customers within those social channels themselves? And that's a really, really difficult thing to do currently. Very few people have really achieved it. Certainly the likes of, I mentioned them earlier, Burberry can do that. You can literally shop the catwalk, see what's coming down the catwalk as the latest fashions, and buy your goods through the social channel, which is fine. I think that kind of works in that environment. Certainly an untapped market yet in the financial services world. I think the biggest point for us is to think about how can we service people better in that social channel. That's where people are. That's where they want to be. How can we provide some capability that allows them to service what they want to do, maybe more than we build an acquisition vehicle within them. But I think certainly trying to use that acquisition vehicle to get to the social nirvana of a return on investment is certainly where people want to get to. I'm not sure we are certainly, and our customers are in a place to make that work. And we've polled our fans, asking them what they'd like to do and use within the Facebook world for social servicing. Very, very few of them came back with anything positive about wanting to drive through into a servicing world in Facebook. You know, for whatever reason, they don't see it as secure or a vehicle where they want to just meet with friends and engage and build and collaborate rather than actually do a hard-nosed transactional capability in the financial services world. Sure. So, key point here for me is the community management. It is by far the best vehicle within the social vehicle to really drive engagement with your customers. And I think this is the piece where we've certainly had most success driving this forward. We talked about the word trust earlier. Trust is a key problem, and I think having a really good collaborative, engaging social community of people can help start to rebuild trust. You know, challenges, and I talked there about we've potentially got 30, 40,000 fans across different things. That's a drop in the ocean to our 15 million customers, but it's starting down that journey to start to engage with customers in an environment. So I talked earlier around social reach and engagement scores. One particular post that we did recently actually got to just 3.8% of viral reach of our fans and followers, which is exceptional compared to most we've got is 0.5% or a single percent. So you can find, with some really good, short, punchy kind of content, the right kind of audience. We took a premise of content, focusing on, which I do believe is right, a premise of hum, sing, and shout. So you have an always-on strategy. You're constantly talking to customers, which is where your hums come. It's just constant drip feed of material information on an ongoing basis. You have a sing premise, which is your probably a launch of something, a key material. And then you have what I call your shout, which is your big initiative that you want to really drive through. A bit like what we talked at Amex with Small Business Saturdays, a real big shout environment for what Amex are looking to go do. Key thing, I think, for me, you used the word purpose earlier, and I think someone from Accenture used the word earlier. Authentic has really got to be key in the social media space when you're building that community. If you're not authentic, you're going to not get people buy into what you're looking to do. So in a very brief summary for me, I think having a really strong purpose, having your objective really well thought out is a key goal, particularly for your segments. Who are you trying to address? What are you trying to address them with and how? Measurement, clearly measuring what matters is ultimately vastly important. You know, it's not just about the like. It is about how you engage with the people and other metrics that you've got around your organisation to pick up on. My firm belief is at the moment for the financial services world, acquisition should be a second string strategy. It's not about acquiring people at the moment. Some brands have done it very well. I think we as an institution and as a sector are a long way off that. But I do think driving that really fully engaged community is going to be a key focus for the financial services world, to get back that trust of the retail consumer, to start to build the debate, the discussion, but actually get the consumers to answer questions for themselves. And I think for me, banking and social certainly can be done. It has been achieved. Good communication, good dialogue. Where's it going to go? Who knows? I think we'll have to wait and see where that will go. But I think if you can build that good set of community, you'll start to get the right kind of focus for what you want to do in the social space. So that was it from me.